Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. I'm John Siegel alongside Joel Cunningham. And our esteemed panel, we have Ed DeRosa from Brisnet.com and, of course, Ray Paulick from the Paulick Report. You know, it's kind of become a tradition to bring these guys on before each Triple Crown race, so we thought it fitting to bring them back. You know, we have a Triple Crown on the line, the first since 1978. Guys, a lot has changed in the world since then. To bring in a little perspective, we thought we'd show some photos of us in 1978. Let's see the one of Ed. Oh, wait, Ed was not even conceived yet.
Thought bubble with your dad.
Yeah. Right. Joel, here's a picture of your mom. You were in utero in 1978.
She looks real happy there, right?
Hey, it's June. It's June, man. It's hot, you know? And then here's a picture of myself somewhere in Ocala, Florida, running around on some farm. And then, of course, we have Ray Paulick. Here's a picture of him trying out for the Bruce Springsteen. I think it was the East Street Band. Is that what it was called?
Actually, I was in Guy Lombardo's orchestra back then. It was a good gig. Yeah.
So, Ray, you're the only person here on the panel that actually remembers seeing Affirmed win the Triple Crown. Tell us about that day.
I wasn't at Belmont Park. I went to Wrigley Field to see the Cubs that day. They were in first place. You know, it was only June. But it was a 3-hour game. I knew the post time for the Belmont was coming up, so I ran out of the game as soon as the Cubs lost 10-8. And ran across the street to the Cubby Bear Lounge to watch the race. It wasn't on TV, so I said, well, the hell, I'll find another place. So I ran down the block. And I found a bar that was completely empty, just the bartender sitting there, a long bar that had the Belmont on, and the horses were just entering the gate. And so I slid down to the end of the bar, and it was actually the race and the rivalry that got me involved in horse racing. The Belmont of '78 was a terrific race. Aladar and Affirmed went at it all the way around. And I just remember I started out at the left end of the bar, and as the horses crossed the wire, I'd slid them about 8 bar stools over because it was so exciting going down the stretch, and I was hooked. That was it for me.
Well, you watched that race on a black and white TV,
yeah.
I think is what you told me. You definitely won't be doing that
Times
this
have changed.
year.
Times have changed, yeah.
Be 70-inch flat screen TV. Somebody will be watching.
PhD Saturday.
You know, we've seen a lot of changes too in the world of horse racing. You know, we've seen changes in the way we breed horses, race horses, and also train horses. It's a perfect segue. Ed, we're seeing a lot of different ideas here with how we're training the horses, including I'll Have Another. You know, he hasn't had a published work since before the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, and it's not something, I know some people have brought it up and it bothers them. It doesn't bother me for the main point that this was Doug O'Neill's plan. He said after the Preakness, we're not going to work, we're going to have gallops, and he hasn't missed any of them. He's gone to the track when people expected him to. Reporters didn't go to the track one day, and then O'Neill said, oh, he's just walking today. That's usually a red flag. Right. But he's checking the boxes O'Neill had set out for him. So for me, I'm going to trust the trainer and say as long as they're sticking to that plan and he's showing that he's in shape while he's doing his gallops, that's enough for me. As long as he's checking those boxes, I'm on board.
Ray, as the historian, I mean, you've done a lot of research on workouts for these horses. I mean, what do you think about the trend?
Times have changed. I've never seen a horse go through the Triple Crown, with a chance to win it without having a workout. He hadn't worked since April, I think. And gosh, back in the 30s and 40s, horses, they'd race between the Preakness and the Belmont. They'd work every 3 or 4 days. Some of them would work 1.5 miles before the Belmont, blow out 46 seconds the day before the race. I think Citation worked 6 furlongs the day before he won the Belmont. So times have really changed. I know the gallops may be stronger today, but I've never seen a trainer try to do this with a horse before, and it's very unconventional.
All right, Joel, you attribute some of these, to the breeding, the way that we've bred these horses. I know you attributed a lot to that.
Yeah, I'm real big on stamina for this race, John. Obviously, it's 12 furlongs, but I just don't think that we're breeding horses to excel at true marathon distance anymore in North America. Maybe in Europe, sure, other jurisdictions around the world, racing jurisdictions, but not here. I think we're breeding for horses to excel at, upwards of 9 furlongs, 1.1 miles, maybe 1.25 miles, stretching it out a little bit. But 12 furlongs has really become a crapshoot, and I think that's why we've had, winners like Sarava, Datara, Ruler on Ice, Commendable. I mean, go down the list there, and recently in the last dozen years, we've had a lot of long shot winners in this race.
There's a trainer who thinks he has a horse that will excel at this distance, and that's Dale Romans, and he has trained his horse very unique. He's kind of gone old school, as he said. He breezed the horse 1 mile and then came back and breezed a bullet. Very similar to another chestnut that won the Belmont very impressively.
Yeah, that was Secretariat. He did the same thing. I wonder if Dale Romans went back and looked at the way Secretariat trained up to the race. Secretariat's mile was 9 seconds faster. Doulahan worked 1 mile in 1:43, and he blew out in just about 46 seconds the other day. So I think he's going to be sharp for this race.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the pace in here. I think it's well documented. There's not a lot of speed in here. You see Ken McPeak's horse that he's bringing in. It looks like he may try to win it on the front end. But tell me a little bit about the pace and how you see it setting up.
Well, I hope for Alvin Other's sake it sets up that there is a target for him to run at. I think with Bodemeister in the Derby and Preakness just was made to order for his style, and even back to the Santa Anita Derby, chasing down blue skies and rainbows in the final furlong really seems to be where Alvin Other excels, and seems to be something Mario's good at too, is timing that finishing move. I actually worry about him being on the front end, which I think is a distinct possibility, especially after 6 furlongs. I'd hate to see a Smarty Jones, a real quiet situation where Mario thinks it's time to open up and enter the stretch to 5-6 length lead and hear that crowd, but uh-oh, here comes Dullahan. So for Alvin Other's best shot, I think we need to see Painter and/or Unstoppable You on the front end.
I think Union Rags is going to be a fresh horse and is going to be closer certainly than he was in the Derby.
Yeah.
He's got some speed too.
Yeah, are you concerned at all with Union Rags? He hasn't even shipped to Belmont yet. He's been training in Maryland. He hasn't gone over the surface.
Well, he's a Grade 1 winner at 2 over the track, so we know he likes the track. We know he likes those big sweeping turns. I expect a huge race from him. The concern is, again, going back to breeding. He's by Dixie Union. Can he get 12 furlongs? His dosage numbers actually aren't terrible because he has a lot of stamina on that bottom side, John. But again, when you're looking at modern-day North American route horses, that 12 furlong distance I just think is very tricky, and I really think that's what opens this race up for some kind of long shot outcome.
Yeah, but we've had a lot of horses that have really come close. Ray, we were talking before the show. Is it the pedigree or is it the ride? I mean, the Belmont seems like it really comes down to the rider.
I think when you look at the 11 who have tried and failed since Affirmed, probably half of them could have been certainly closer or could have changed the result if the horse had been ridden differently. Spectacular Bit, Ali Sheba, Smarty Jones, and Real Quiet are 4 that come to mind quickly. So I think the ride is probably just as important as anything.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Like you said, I'll have another try to be the first horse to win the Belmont Stakes. Without having those published works, this will be Mario's first time riding in the Belmont Stakes. So there's a lot stacked up against I'll have another, but there's also something else that's interesting in history. The first Triple Crown winner was a chestnut. From then on, it went Bay, Chestnut, Bay, Chestnut, Bay, Chestnut, and of course we know Affirmed was a chestnut. So he has to overcome that. I mean, according to history, the next Triple Crown winner is supposed to be Bay.
Yeah, 34 years is enough, and color certainly is going to be his
Is there a gray horse in the race?
No grays. Hey, so I think it's time. Let's give our picks here. Joel, do you think we see a Triple Crown winner this year?
I do think, being by a son of Distorted Humor and having Arch mare, Distorted Humor and Arch is as good a classic influence of stamina as you'll see in North America breeding today. So I do think that he is set up better than maybe the previous 11 since in 1978 that have come into the Belmont with a chance to win it. However, I just think that this race, to take 3 to 5 now on this horse, if we're really talking about win selections and betting selections, he's a horse that you really can't bet at this point at his odds. Street Life's a horse that's going to be a huge price, John. And when I did, when I tried to qualify all 11 horses and who I felt, could handle the distance and really went down, the qualifiers. And the only thing that he hasn't done yet is run fast. I mean, his best buyer numbers a 93 speed figure, improve of blinkers. So he has to move forward. But hey, did Datara run fast before he won the Belmont? So he really qualifies for me with that 3 dosage index. I'm going to take Street Life to kind of
interesting,
like the Smarty Jones year. I think there'll be enough early pace. Remember, a fast pace in the Belmont, it's not going to look, the timer, you're not going to see 109 and change for 3/4. An honest pace in the Belmont going 12 furlongs could be what we normally think would be a soft pace, but as long as it's contentious, like I think it can be early, I think it can set it up for a late run horse like Street Life.
All right, Ed, I know you told me you move the odds whenever you make your picks. You were off of I'll have another in the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness. Was not favored
up to 15 to 1.
Wasn't favored in either of those races. Do you pick him here in this race?
I don't. I'm picking Dullahan, so a horse I've actually gotten off. I was never on him, but before the Bluegrass, I said he's too slow to win, and ate a lot of crow for that. So hoping I've matured and grown as a handicapper over the last 8 weeks. But we talk about horses who are fast enough. Olive and Others the fastest in this field, but Dullahan to me is a close second, especially as the distances get longer. Painter's Allowance was fast, but I think Dullahan is in a better position in this race, going 12 furlongs. So for me, he's my top pick, and at 4 to 1, he just needs to win more than 20% of the time to be ahead, and I think he would do that.
All right, Ray, it's time. Your official pick. Do we see a Triple Crown winner
It's been
this year?
34 years, so we're due. But as a Cubs fan, it's been 104 years since they won a World Series. So just because it's been a long time doesn't mean things are going to change. The Cubs
Right.
are in last place. They got no shot. I'll have another will not be the 12th Triple Crown winner, I don't think. I think there's going to be a much, not hotter pace, but contested pace than a lot of people see. It's going to set up perfectly for Doulahan. I like the way he's trained. I think he's going to run away with it in the stretch.
All right, I'm going to go with Doulahan as well. I see Painter being in there. I see him and I'll have another eyeballing each other, wearing each other down the stretch. And I just see Doulahan. I just think he's doing too well right now. I really give him a big chance.
Well, we've dashed a lot of hopes in the last minute.
So no, we're all saying no Triple Crown winner, even though I know that we do hope to see a Triple Crown winner. We wish I'll have another. The best of luck. The horse is doing fantastic right now. Thank you guys for sticking with us, and thank you guys for coming on. We really do appreciate you coming on for our panel show. Make sure you come back next week. We'll recap the Belmont Stakes, and we'll see if we have a Triple Crown winner.